The movie opens with two small-time street dealers selling drugs in broad daylight. Suddenly, an elderly man named Robert confronts them and warns them to leave the area or he'll call the police. The two guys curse him under their breath, but eventually walk away. Shortly after, a man named Bone approaches Robert and asks if he knows of any apartments for rent. Robert takes him to his friend Tamara, who owns the house. Tamara tells Bone the apartment is available, but only if he agrees to a few strict rules. She explains that he's not allowed to play loud music, cause any trouble in the neighborhood, or bring women back to the apartment. Bone is surprised by the conditions, but Tamara explains that she has adopted children living with her and wants to raise them right, away from street life. Bone understands, agrees to the rules, pays the rent, and assures her that he's a peaceful man who avoids problems. That night, the scene shifts to an underground street fight organized by a man named Lenny. His top fighter, Cowboy, is known for being absolutely brutal, and no one dares to challenge him. Suddenly, a dangerous crime boss named James arrives with his girlfriend Hila. James informs Lenny that his fighter, known as Hammer, will be competing that night. Lenny agrees and prepares Cowboy for the match. The fight begins, and Hammer completely dominates Cowboy. With a single devastating strike, he drops him to the ground and continues beating him mercilessly, leaving Cowboy badly disfigured. Lenny is shocked by the outcome. He hands over the gambling money to James, clearly devastated after losing everything. Later, as Lenny gets into his car to leave, he suddenly finds Bone sitting inside. At first, Lenny thinks Bone is a thief, but Bone calmly explains that he wants Lenny to arrange a fight for him, specifically against Hammer. Lenny laughs and tells him that fighting Hammer would be suicide. He refuses to risk his money on someone he doesn't know or trust. Bone pulls out $200 and challenges Lenny to set up a fight against any opponent he chooses, just to prove his skills. Lenny is stunned by Bone's confidence, but eventually agrees. He takes Bone to meet James, introducing him as a new fighter who could become serious competition. James quickly notices that Bone is staring at Hila. Angered, James scolds Hila after Bone and Lenny leave, warning her never to look at another man again. Soon after, Lenny arranges Bone's first fight against a man named Saw. The fight ends instantly. Bone knocks his opponent out with a single punch, shocking the entire crowd with his terrifying strength. As Lenny drives Bone home afterward, he's still in disbelief over what he just witnessed. Bone asks him about Hila, and Lenny explains her tragic past. She was once married to another man, but James became obsessed with her. He framed her husband and sent him to prison. Later, James discovered she was pregnant, forced her to get rid of the baby, and eventually turned her into a drug addict to keep control over her. On the other side of the city, James receives a phone call from a man named Frank, who gives him a new assignment: eliminate someone called Daryl. James is surprised, since Daryl is actually an old friend of his, but he agrees anyway. James goes to Daryl's house, where Daryl and his wife welcome him warmly. They sit together, eat dinner, and even sing along to music, laughing like nothing is wrong. Suddenly, without warning, James pulls out his sword and brutally stabs Daryl to death right in front of his wife, killing him in cold blood. That same night, Bone returns home, still thinking about what Lenny told him about Hila. This triggers a flashback to Bone's first day in prison. Back then, a man named Danny warned Bone that a gang inside the prison was planning to kill him. Danny leaves, and shortly after, the gang corners Bone in the bathroom. Their leader threatens him and promises to ruin his life. Bone calmly tells them he's going to count to 5 and gives them a chance to walk away. They laugh at him and attack, but they quickly realize their mistake. Bone violently takes them all down, breaking their faces and leaving them helpless. Before leaving, he warns their leader to spread the message: if anyone ever tries to touch him again, they'll die. Back in the present, James tries to talk to Hila, but she treats him coldly and with obvious hatred. She clearly wants nothing to do with him. The next day, James's assistant John shows him a video of Bone defeating his opponent with a single punch. James is impressed and orders John to dig up everything he can about this new fighter. Later, James takes John to see his attack dogs. John is terrified of them, but James intentionally lets the dogs loose on him just to humiliate and frighten him, enjoying his fear. Meanwhile, Bone is at home playing chess with Robert. Tamara suddenly notices her adopted son Jared standing outside with a group of street kids. She yells at him to come back inside immediately. Robert steps in and angrily orders the troublemakers to leave. They mock him at first, but the moment they see Bone, they panic and run away. Soon after, Lenny arrives and takes Bone with him to a secret underground club where illegal street fights are held. They watch two female fighters battle viciously. One of them, named Vera, completely dominates her opponent and wins in a brutal, bloody fashion. Lenny then approaches Michael, the man running the club, and asks him to set up a fight for Bone. Michael agrees but mocks Bone, convinced he's just another nobody trying to take easy money. The fight begins, and Michael's attitude changes instantly. Bone destroys his opponent with a single strike. To protect his reputation, Michael orders two more fighters to attack Bone at the same time. Bone defeats them effortlessly, stunning everyone in the club. Enraged, Michael orders all his fighters to rush Bone at once. Against all odds, Bone beats every single one of them. He then walks straight up to Michael and forcibly takes the gambling money himself before leaving. As Bone is about to go, Vera stops him and gives him her phone number, clearly impressed and attracted to him. From that moment on, Bone begins training harder than ever. He keeps winning fight after fight, crushing anyone who stands in his way. Lenny's role becomes managing the matches and collecting the growing piles of gambling money Bone earns. After one fight, Bone returns home covered in blood. Tamara notices immediately and panics when she realizes he's injured. She treats his wounds, and Bone thanks her. Curious, he asks why she chose to adopt 3 children. Tamara explains that she wants to raise them properly so they don't grow up lost or broken like people from the streets. Bone smiles and asks about Jared, whom he often sees staring out the window. Tamara tells him Jared is waiting for his father to be released from prison, and also hoping for his mother, who disappeared long ago. Tamara asks Bone what kind of fighting style he uses. Bone explains that it's called Tai Chi and even teaches her a few basic moves. The next day, Bone starts training the kids himself, and Tamara is genuinely happy to see how much he cares about them. Elsewhere, James chases one of his female associates with his car. She begs for forgiveness, but James completely loses control and runs her over, killing her. Robert happens to pass by and witnesses the aftermath, but James sees him as harmless and leaves him alive. Later that night, Robert plays chess with Bone and, for the first time, manages to beat him, taking the gambling money and proudly celebrating his win. After days of build-up, the long-awaited fight finally arrives, the battle between Bone and the feared fighter Hammer. Before the match begins, Lenny addresses the crowd and announces that the bets will be triple this time, warning everyone that this fight is going to be extremely violent. The fight starts, and Bone immediately takes control. His strikes are powerful, fast, and precise. Hammer can't block or counter a single hit. Furious and desperate, Hammer charges at Bone with everything he has, but Bone calmly deflects every attack. Using brutal combinations, Bone overwhelms Hammer and delivers a crushing final blow that ends the fight decisively. The crowd erupts. Lenny is beyond excited and rushes to James to collect the gambling money. James pays him, clearly frustrated that his most dangerous fighter was defeated so easily. Trying to hide his anger, James congratulates Bone and invites him to spend the night celebrating at his place. Although Lenny strongly objects, Bone agrees. They head to James's house, where James orders Gila to welcome them. He proudly tells her that Bone destroyed Hammer without breaking a sweat. Gila reacts with complete indifference. She tells them she doesn't care about their fights or their nonsense and walks away. James then gives Bone a tour of his private training area and explains how obsessed he is with the fighter lifestyle. He brags about staying healthy and avoiding drugs so he can remain powerful. James shows Bone his sword and is surprised to learn that Bone doesn't use weapons in fights. He explains that street fights are nothing like professional international matches. James then reveals that the man organizing the biggest fights is Frank, the same man who ordered him to kill Daryl. James explains that Frank is a major weapons dealer and that no war happens without his involvement. On top of that, Frank's personal fighter is a monster, someone who once killed 4 fighters in a single match. James then makes Bone an unbelievable offer. Fight Bryce, Frank's fighter. If Bone wins, he'll be crowned the strongest fighter in the world and walk away with $5 million. Bone is shocked by the amount and asks for time to think about it. Later, Bone joins Lenny at the party, enjoying himself while Lenny drinks heavily and celebrates non-stop. Meanwhile, James approaches Gila and orders her to convince Bone to accept the fight against Bryce. She refuses and pushes him away. Enraged, James threatens to cut off her drug supply completely. Terrified, Gila gives in and agrees. She takes Bone to a private room, trying to seduce him so he'll accept the deal. Bone stops her and tells her the truth. Her husband asked him to protect her and their child before he was killed. Hila is stunned when Bone reveals that her husband Danny was in prison with him. Bone explains that they were close friends and that Danny often talked about her and their son. Bone tells her how Danny was stabbed by the JC gang, and with his dying breath, he begged Bone to look after his family. Bone is deeply upset by what Hila has become. She breaks down and admits that James did this to her. He framed her husband, sent him to prison, and forced her into addictions so he could control her. She also reveals that she has no idea what happened to her child. Bone shocks her again by telling her that he knows where her son is. He asks for her help so he can reunite them. Overwhelmed with emotion, Hila agrees to everything he asks. They return to the party, acting normal so James won't suspect anything. Bone tells James that he wants Hila to stay with him for a few days because he's very interested in her. Reluctantly, James agrees, knowing he needs Bone to stay loyal as his fighter. Bone takes Hila away, and the first thing he does is check her into a rehab center to help her recover from her addiction. Grateful and emotional, Hila thanks him for freeing her from the prison she's been living in. Meanwhile, James travels to Frank's mansion and hands over $5 million, demanding that the fight with Bryce be arranged. Frank tells him it's not that simple. International fights are controlled by an organization that must approve every fighter. James reminds Frank of all the favors he's done for him and demands repayment. Frank responds with open racism, saying that street dogs don't belong among elite fighters. James struggles to control his anger. Eventually, Frank agrees, but warns James that if his fighter embarrasses him in front of important guests, he'll be finished. Frank also reveals that he's hosting a massive event in 2 days, attended by powerful people, and expects James to arrive with his fighter ready. Late at night, Bone heads back to Tamara's house, only to find an entire area surrounded by police cars. As he gets closer, he makes a devastating discovery. Robert has been brutally killed right outside the house. Bone is shaken and deeply saddened by the loss. Inside, Tamara is completely broken. Bone tries to calm her down and asks what happened. Through tears, she tells him the truth. James unleashed his attack dogs on Robert, letting them tear him apart. Bone comforts her, but in their shared grief and fear, emotions take over, and they spend the night together. The next morning, Bone wakes up to a horrifying sight. James is standing in front of him. James mocks him, laughing as he says he gave him the most beautiful woman in the city, only to find Bone wasting his time with a babysitter. Then James coldly tells him to prepare himself because the fight with Bryce is happening soon. Bone tells him he's made his decision, and he refuses to fight. James explodes with rage. He reminds Bone that he paid $5 million and practically begged Frank to arrange the fight. When Bone still refuses, James attacks him with his sword. Bone easily disarms him and snaps the blade in half. Desperate, James pulls out a gun and threatens to kill Tamara if Bone doesn't cooperate. He storms out, leaving Bone furious and trapped. Bone immediately tells Tamara to take the children and hide somewhere safe. She agrees, but warns him that if she ever comes back, she hopes he won't be there anymore because his presence only brings danger. Meanwhile, James orders his assistant John to prepare all his men. He plans to kill Hila, Tamara, and the children as soon as he gives the signal. James then sends Hammer to find Lenny at a nightclub and force him to reveal Bone's location. Hammer taunts Lenny, demanding answers. Lenny refuses, mocking him instead. Furious, Hammer throws Lenny against the wall and beats him savagely, trying to force the information out of him. Before Hammer can finish the job, Bone suddenly appears. He opens fire on James's men, killing them and saving Lenny's life. At the same time, James sends the rest of his crew to the rehab center to kill Hila. When they arrive, they find Lee lying in the bed instead. Bone appears once again, ambushing the men and systematically breaking them down one by one until none of them are left alive. Moments later, James calls his men to confirm the job is done, but Bone answers the phone. He tells James that everyone he sent is dead and that he's coming to settle things personally. James laughs and calls him back, claiming Bone will never find him. What James doesn't realize is that Bone has John's phone. Using it, Bone tracks James's location. Unbeknownst to Bone, this was part of James's plan all along, to lure him directly to the location of the final fight against Bryce. Bone arrives at the compound and captures one of Frank's guards, forcing him to take him inside to meet James. James tells Bone that he has no choice. He must fight Bryce. If he refuses, everyone he knows will die. Bone laughs coldly and tells James he's already used to death. He reminds him that he killed his friend Danny, murdered Robert, and destroyed countless lives. James admits that everything is now out in the open and that he's the one in control. What James doesn't know is that Bone has been recording the entire conversation. Bone secretly sends the recording to Lenny, who immediately contacts the police and hands over the evidence. Just then, Bryce appears and warns Bone that there's no escape. Whether he fights or refuses, James will never let him live. Understanding the reality, Bone agrees to fight. The final fight begins between Bone and Bryce, and from the first moment, it's clear this isn't like any fight before. Both men are incredibly powerful, moving with speed, precision, and deadly focus. Every strike lands with brutal force, and neither fighter is willing to back down. Bone tries to take control, delivering heavy blows and pushing Bryce backward. But Bryce absorbs the punishment and counters with terrifying strength. His endurance is unreal, and he starts landing crushing hits that Bone struggles to block. For the first time, Bone is pushed to his limit. Realizing brute force won't be enough, Bone slows his breathing and shifts into his secret fighting style. He changes his rhythm, reading Bryce's movements, and eventually manages to throw him to the ground. The fight grows even more intense as both men bleed and struggle to stay standing. Bone begins identifying Bryce's weak points. One by one, he targets them, breaking his balance, damaging his limbs, and delivering devastating strikes. Bryce is nearly unconscious, but suddenly, Bone stops. In a shocking move, Bone surrenders the fight on purpose, causing Bryce to win. The crowd is stunned. James realizes too late what just happened. By losing intentionally, Bone causes James to lose the $5 million he bet on the fight. James completely loses control. Enraged, he grabs his sword and charges at Bone. Bone narrowly dodges each wild strike. Seeing the chaos, Frank throws James a sword, trying to make the fight fair. That's when the truth is revealed. Bone is highly skilled with a sword. Unlike James, Bone moves with precision and control. In front of Frank and the powerful guests, Bone humiliates James, disarming him and forcing him into a desperate position. Bone strikes again, slicing off James's hand with his own sword. At that exact moment, the police storm the mansion. Sirens echo as chaos erupts. Bone escapes the compound before he can be captured. Strangely, Frank remains calm, sitting back and drinking whiskey, completely unfazed by the collapse happening around him. Months later, Gila, now fully recovered, arrives at Tamara's house. She's there to finally meet her son. The truth is revealed. Jared is Gila's child. Overcome with emotion, Gila breaks down in tears as she reunites with him for the first time. Tamara later speaks with Bone and apologizes for everything that happened. Bone thanks her for trusting him but explains that he can't stay. His presence would only put them in danger. He asks her to take care of Gila and Jared. They share a quiet, emotional goodbye. Bone then meets Lenny one last time. After that, he leaves the city alone, walking toward an unknown future, free, undefeated, and finally at peace.